Hey, good day, folks. Welcome to Answers Life. I hope everyone's having a great day today. Well, this video is per request. I had one of my longtime loyal subscribers suggest that I do this video today. This video is going to be about me being homesick. So, honestly, I never thought about doing this video, but I'm going to go ahead and do this video because there are a lot of people out here that are moving to other states, or you're moving to a whole nother part of the country for one reason or another. Well, for those of you that are new to my channel, let me just tell you a brief background about myself, a super brief one. I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in Elyria, Ohio, which is a half hour west of Cleveland, which is located in northeast Ohio. I left Ohio. I left Ohio in my early 20s, and I moved to Kentucky. I stayed in Kentucky for about a couple of years, and then I moved to Tennessee. I stayed in Tennessee for 5 years, give or take, and then I moved back up to Ohio. I moved to Northwest Ohio. I moved to Toledo. I left Toledo, and then I moved over to Indiana. I lived in Indiana for a total of 12 years. Yeah, I lived in Indiana for a combined total of, 12 to 13 years. Because when I left Indiana, I came down here to Alabama, and then I temporarily, for 7 months, I went back up to Indiana, and then I came back down here to Alabama. Yeah. So, in a nutshell, that's my history. Now, I have traveled, however, all over the country. Well before I even started this YouTube channel, I've been traveling all over the country. And I spent some time up in North Dakota. I worked the oil fields there for a little bit before I got burned out. So that's a brief history about myself as far as places where I lived and where I've been and all that good stuff. And I will say, there was only one time in my life where I genuinely got homesick. Now, and that was when I left Indiana and I came down here to Alabama. And even to this day, I still battle with that. Now, what's strange about this situation is, I'm not from Indiana. I was raised, like I told you guys a couple of minutes ago, I was raised in northeast Ohio. But for some reason, I consider Indiana more my home, so to speak. Well, at this point, my home away from home, because I'm down here now. But I consider Indiana more so my home than I consider Ohio my home. And to be honest, I was never a huge fan of Ohio. I just wasn't. Not while I was growing up, and definitely not as an adult, especially when I began to travel the country. Ohio just never did it for me. Now, Indiana, on the other hand, I love that state. The people there are phenomenal, at least to me they are. And I'm not gonna lie to you people, I miss it. I mean, where I'm at now, the culture is different. I mean, I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm just saying that down here, the culture is different. The food down here is a little different. Again, that's not in a bad way. It's just different. And also down here, I don't really know nobody. I mean, but being that we're in the age of social media, people aren't really going out their way to meet anybody face to face like back in the day. And when I look back at Indiana, I think one thing that may have helped me out when I was in Indiana was a, I mean now back then, yes, you had social media, you had Facebook, and I think I moved to Indiana back in 2010. So I think back then you had Facebook, you had I don't know if MySpace was a thing back in 2010. I can't remember, but the social media community back then wasn't near as large as it is today. So I think that's one thing that may have helped me out when first moving to Indiana. Back when I first went to Indiana, at least to me, people still interacted with each other on a face-to-face, real life scenario type of situation. Everything was not online. If you wanted to date, now yes, back then you did have online dating, but again, it wasn't as big as it is today. So if you wanted to date, you had, as a man, you had to have the courage to approach a woman. And if she told you no, you just had to, take it like a man and keep on going. And I think even back in 2010, you had more women that were a little bit more realistic when it came to dating. You didn't, at least I didn't see the inflated egos that a lot of these women have back in 2010 as many of them have today. I think the expectations on what a woman wanted out of a man was a tad bit more realistic back then. Because, like I said, back then when you wanted a date, most people typically it was face to face, real life interactions. None of this online garbage. But you know, cause I remember when I first moved to Indiana, I was facing some hard times. Cause I moved to Indiana at the tail end of the '08 recession. Because the '08 recession, I don't care what they tell you, I don't care what the government or what the experts tell you about that recession. As far as I'm concerned, the recession of '08 lasted until 2011. Like I said, I don't care what the government told you or what they tell you or what they wrote. I don't care. I'm going to tell you that right now. Don't come at me in the comments talking about, well, the recession ended in '09. I don't care. I'm talking real stuff to real people, so let's keep going. So anyhow, at what I consider to be the tail end of the '08 recession, that's when I moved to Indiana. And I was going through some hard times at that time because at that time I was close to broke. I've just gotten terminated from Walmart, of all places to be terminated from Walmart. So at that time I had just gotten terminated from Walmart. I only had a few $100s in my name. And I was sleeping in my car, eating. For the most part, I had a couple of gift certificates that I saved over the years. I used them up to eat a couple of good meals, but for the most part, I was snacking on peanut butter and crackers and hard-boiled eggs because I go to the store and buy the prepackaged ones from Walmart then. I mean, for the most part, that was basically my diet. But despite the hard times I was going through when I went to Indiana to me was a refresher. I mean, it's just a new start in life. Because I gotta say, some of the most miserable times of my life were up in Ohio, especially Toledo. So when I decided to leave Ohio with just a few $100s, and when I drove over to Indiana. I went into Indianapolis. I mean, people there were so nice. People there were so helpful. I mean, I was asking people about the job market, what jobs are hiring, what companies can I go to, and all that good stuff. And I remember clearly how nice people were, how helpful people were. At least to me, that Hoosier mentality was real. Now, some people be shitting on Indiana, talking about Indiana people are rude and all this other type of stuff. But from my experience, people in Indiana were real. They were super real, very helpful. And when from the day that I first went into Indiana, it took me a month for me to find work. A month. Now, remind you, when I was in Toledo, it took me 4 months to find work, and I still got fired. But it took me a month to find work in Indiana, and I ended up keeping that job for a good couple of years, give or take. So shortly after I found that job in Indiana, I turned around and I found a second job within a couple of months after that. And around this time, I met my girlfriend at the time, and we dated for a few years. But I remember clearly how nice people were to me, how helpful they were to me. Even to this day, when I go up there and I visit, people are nice. For the most part, people are nice. People are laid back. They're cool. I mean, and I think the friendliness up in Indiana is genuine, at least to me. And it's nice to go up there and visit some old friends. It's nice when I go to Ohio and I visit family. But to me, Indiana is going to always be what I consider my home away from home, more so than Ohio, even though I was raised in Ohio. So, with all that being said, when I left Indiana and I came here to Alabama, that is the only time in my life that I ever got homesick. I did not get homesick leaving Ohio and moving to Kentucky and then down to Tennessee. I never got homesick when it came to Ohio. I was glad to be out of Ohio. Now, for any of my family that might be watching this video, yes, I love my family. But as far as Ohio, nah, I don't miss that state. And I was in Tennessee for a handful of years. And when I left Tennessee and I went back to Toledo, because, at that time, I had some reasons to go back up there. But shortly after I got back up there, again, I was happy to be closer to my family. But at the same time, I regretted my decision to leave Tennessee. And there was a time when I was in Toledo that I actually wished I was back in Tennessee. But then once I moved into Indiana, the whole thing about me wanting to live back in Tennessee kind of left my mind, because my experience up in Indiana was so phenomenal. People were so helpful. The economy was on point. Indiana's been good to me. I'm gonna just keep it real. Indiana's been good to me. And the only reason why I left Indiana was because, well, for one, I didn't want to deal with cold weather anymore. And secondly, when I was looking to buy a home sitting on some acres out up there, the cost was too expensive and I just didn't have the funds. Those are the only two reasons why I left Indiana. Other than that, Indiana is a wonderful state. So, do I get homesick being here in Alabama? Yes, I do. Now, people down here in Alabama, at least from my experience, for the most part, people down here are pleasant. They're nice. But I don't know nobody here in Alabama. I don't know nobody down here. I just don't. And given and between my job and me trying to post videos on a regular basis on this channel and other things that I gotta do in my life, it's hard for me to meet people. Now, if I really wanted to meet people at my job and be friends with some of them, I guess I could. But when it comes to my job, I've always been the kind of person that when I come into work, I do my job and I clock out and I go home. I don't really try to make friends with people at my job because to me, I don't know. I just don't feel comfortable doing that. And like I said, with the age of social media, it's harder today to meet people than it was in the past. At least to me, it is. And also with my personality, and I think some of it could also be my Asperger's. I'm just not the kind of person that's super sociable, that's super outgoing. I'm more to myself. And I accept that about myself. So meeting people for me is not going to be the easiest thing to do. And although I love where I live, I mean, I live in a community where most people, they're married up, they're coupled up, they're raising children, they got family, and for the most part, people out here stay to themselves. So, and I respect that. And honestly, I'd rather have that than other things. But I remember, like I told you guys about a year and a half or so ago, when I first purchased that other house I sold up in Indiana, and I made a video about this. So go back and check that video out. I made this video back in, I want to say, September of 2023. So go check that video out. But the last house I purchased up in Indiana, I lived in there. I lived up there for about 7 months, give or take. I mean, I miss that area. I mean, the neighbors were nice. People always spoke, and the neighborliness was genuine. You can tell it was genuine. You can tell it was coming from their heart. They didn't want shit from me. It was just real. So I miss that about Indiana. And to be honest, from my experience here in Alabama, I mean, from my experience, people down here, depending on where you go, people down here, some of them are nice and they might have a little bit of neighborliness, but at the same time, down here in Alabama, it's more of a okay, nice meeting you. But outside of that, you know, basically mind your own damn business type of deal. That's what I get down here for the most part. Now where I'm at right now, I will say that neighbors where I'm at now are more neighborly than where I was at before. I will say that. But it's still not like Indiana. I mean, there's just some people call it the Hoosier mentality. There's the, I don't know how to explain it to you guys, but some of you guys automatically assume, okay, I'm here in Alabama, so there's the whole Southern hospitality thing is going on. And yeah, I've experienced some of it. But to me, I miss that Hoosier mentality. I'm not going to lie. I miss the Hoosier mentality. And don't get me wrong, I like it down here in Alabama. You know what I'm saying? I love the climate. I love the affordability I love the affordability that's down here. And I also accept the fact I am who I am. So with being who I am as a person, it's not going to be easy for me to meet people, especially when I'm not even from the region. Cause like I said, I'm not from the South. I'm Midwest. So if I really want to meet people down here outside of my job, I'm gonna probably have to go out my way and make more of an exerted effort to make that happen. Which, one day I might do that, but for now I got so much shit to do. It is what it is. So yes, I do get homesick, even to this day. Even on days like today where I'm sitting outside wearing short sleeves, wearing a t-shirt. Right now it's in the mid 70s. At home in Indiana, I believe the temperatures up there are in the mid 30s, low 40s. But even during this time of the year, I would love nothing more than to jump in my my van on my car, go to Indiana for a couple of days, like I did a few weeks ago. You know, visit some more friends, and then come back home. I mean, because there are things about Indiana that I miss. And yes, I do miss the Hoosier mentality. I do miss the people up there. I'm not going to lie, I do. I'm not saying people down here are not good people. I'm not saying that at all. It's just that I don't know people down here that well. I haven't fully gotten acclimated to the ways of Alabama. I mean, yeah, I've been down here for a few years, and some people think, okay, I've been here for a few years, I should have gotten acclimated by now. Well, I haven't. It is what it is. So that's all I got for this video. I don't want to make it too long. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and I will check you guys later. Stay blessed.